Hey there, Foxy Gamers! Welcome to Planet Coaster, a new series of creating Legoland, based off of the Lego movie, as much as I can. And today we're going to just start off with making characters. I have already made a Unikitty. This was a while ago, so I can show you what she looks like. There we have it. I can't remember how long it took me, but it wasn't the fastest thing ever. And today I'm going to focus on making Emmet. And the reason I'm making the characters first is just because I think they're going to be the most difficult parts, since they have a lot of, you know, characteristic stuff on their faces, and they're made out of curves in some places and have a lot more detail than the buildings, which are all just made up of Lego pieces. So I want to make sure that we can actually get the characters looking good before spending a lot of time on the world. And the way, excuse me, the way that I think I'm going to approach this is I'm going to make all of the pieces of the Lego characters separate, with the exception of Unikitty, since she's like the only one that looks like that. But that way, when I want to build the other characters, I can, you know, piece together the head and body and whatnot, and not have to start from scratch every time. And the best way I think is going to be to do that is by basing it all around a building piece. That way we can be hooked to the grid and not have to worry about rotating it properly. And hypothetically, I think if we build all the pieces according to the same directional plane and everything, that they should piece together fairly well. So for now, I'm just gonna sink this down into the ground, and that's going to be where we build our characters. And actually, I'm gonna make 2 pieces out here just so we have a bigger area and I don't have to worry about making sure it's part of the building. Okay, so to begin with, these are pretty much all gonna be using the Art Deco shapes. Maybe when we get into the buildings, we'll use actual building pieces, but as far as the characters go, it's really the only option. And I think, let's see, how does this compare to Unikitty? Yeah, so I think this is the size we're gonna want for the heads. This is the best piece to make the heads out of because of their shape. We can't just, there's no like thick cylinder really, so I'm gonna have to go with this one and piece it together like so. And in case you missed my first 10 tips video, when you are placing an item for the first time and you want to duplicate it and move them right next to each other like I'm doing, the best way is to place it with the manipulation tool so that it will automatically give you another piece right where you left that one, and then you can just build it in a nice straight line like this. Okay, and the way we're gonna do the tops of their heads, actually I'm not sure that's big enough yet. Yeah, that should be good. So now we'll use the sphere, and I'm gonna make sure that my angle snap is constantly on, because that will make things a lot easier trying to line stuff up together. Okay, this will be the top of the head, maybe. It's not perfect, and none of this unfortunately is going to be super perfect, but we'll get it as close as possible. We're allowed some artistic liberties here. Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And for the top of the head, actually, I'm not gonna put that little, you know, piece on top of the head for attaching the hair just yet, because I don't want to have a lot of pieces that you don't see that will potentially slow down the game. But I am going to put in a neck. Whoops, I don't want the half circle though. Let's do this one. And instead of snapping it to this surface, I'm just gonna snap it to the ground here for the purpose of doing exactly what I was meaning with this building, so that we don't have to work really hard at trying to line up the pieces. I am going to make all of this available on the Steam Workshop eventually too, so if you want to build your own Lego characters using the base objects that I make, you can do so. Alright. Maybe one more piece for the neck. And the face now is, oops, crazy camera. The face is going to be the tricky part, because we can't just draw lines on things, so it's not going to be perfect, and I'm going to have to figure out how to kind of make it sort of look the way that I want it to, but I can't put in all of the details that all of the characters have. Like I said, we're just going to have to take some artistic liberties. But I do want the eyes to be facing this way, since that is the direction of our building. But we'll just do that, and might be a little high. No, you know what, that's okay. Alright. No, not quite. I need to try and not be anal retentive with my perfection, too, because otherwise it's gonna drive me crazy and I'm never gonna get this stuff done. Okay, so there's the eyes, and just because the mouths are always different, I think I'm gonna save it like that, and we'll make this our head blueprint. Except okay. I want to separate this out from the building, but we have to edit building first. And then click and drag. There we go. Now, save this as our blueprint. As you can see, let's see. I already made a Lego head, but this one, I'm just gonna update it, because it's more accurate than the first one I tried to make. So, because I want to upload this to the workshop eventually, I'm going to give it a little bit of a description so people know they can piece it together. And it's pretty much just a statue, so I will leave it like that. Okay. Because now, when we go in here for our blueprint, you can see that it's going to be lined up with this head. So, for now, I will move this over here and work on our building again. I changed my mind. We are going to add this back to the building, and that way we can build our pieces according to this one, but we will just separate it out whenever we want to save a new portion. Okay, so I have figured out that the Lego heads, or the Lego bodies, are about 3.5 heads tall. So, actually gonna go in here and place these down, but about halfway down the ground, just so that I know I'm gonna get the proportions right. And when I say they're about 3.5 heads tall, I mean specifically right where the head ends, not including the neck. So we will measure this out real quick. Okay, turns out I was wrong. The height is actually 3.5 heads, including the neck. Not this full neck, but close to it. So I moved it to the proper spot. Okay, so the torso and the legs are pretty much half and half as far as size goes. So let's make sure to map that out real quick. We want to make sure we have the right sizes before we get too far. Okay, so this medium cube is pretty close to what we want. And his shoulders are about as wide as his head. Maybe just a tad more. For the colors, you know, you'll be able to change it to whatever color you want if you're making your own. But for this first one, I'm basically going to be making Emmet, because he is the first character. I want to make sure we get right because he's the main character. We will place this piece as our main base. Just kind of make sure we got it centered on here. Well, we'll have to make it wider than this, obviously, but just want to put this first. Alright, we might be able to use these triangles, but for the moment, I'm just going to set those aside because that would require us to duplicate them enough times so that they're thick as the rest of him. And I don't want to have to do that if I don't have to. So we'll place this properly first and see if we can get the right angle that we want. If I can get away with using the angle snap, that is preferable, but I'm at the smallest snap right now, which is 15 degrees. Okay, yeah, I think we can make this work because the Lego characters do actually have a straight down section here. That's the tricky part, is if I wanted it to be angled and go straight across, which we can't really do with these pieces, but this will be okay. Just gotta make sure to line it up properly. Oh, see, now this is the tricky part. It's not going to be perfect. Like I said, we're just going to have to deal with that. There we go. And now I will duplicate this piece to give him some thickness. Okay, so now for the bottom part, we might have to use the small cube. Yeah. I do believe so. In fact, it might still be too big. Yeah, okay. Alright, well, we're gonna have a slight bit hanging down in the front here. We'll have to decide if we want to actually worry about that. I may not bother too much because for the most part, you'll be looking at these from a distance and not going to notice minor imperfections like that. But when you are going to duplicate a section of objects like this, you want to make sure that they are lined up as well as possible, because otherwise, the farther you get down the thing you're trying to line it up to, the more off it's going to be. This part will be a little tricky since it doesn't just duplicate the objects right where my cursor is, like it does when you're placing them for the first time. Yeah, see, it's such a small amount hanging over here on these little corners that I'm not really going to worry about it. But I should save my progress. Okay. Let's make sure these guys are as squared off as possible before I save out this blueprint. You can always edit blueprints, but if I can get it as close as possible right away, the less work I'll have to do later. Okay. I think that will do it for our body. Realistically, I believe it would taper in a little bit front and back. But I'm not going to worry about that because, like I said, we need to not worry too much about all that. So, separate that out, and we'll save this as our body blueprint. Okay, so we don't need these triangles after all. Alright, on to the legs. Legs might be just a tad trickier. So we will first of all see if we can get pieces, some cylinder pieces that are half the width of his body or close to. In fact, I think we have a winner here. Oh wait, I'm doing this wrong. It's gonna go the other way, so let's see what it looks like this direction. Right? Yes. Alright, well the legs are gonna be a little off, but this'll have to do. We'll make that a matching orange for now since we're working on Emmet. And go ahead and start placing these. Alright, there is his legs. There are his legs. At least his thighs and his little cute crotch area. Yes, that's right. I called his crotch cute. What of it? Alright, so now we need his legs. Let's see if I can get one that is the proper width. This would make it so much easier, but I don't think that's quite gonna happen. Alright, well we'll use this one anyway. And we'll just have to have a few more pieces. Line this up like so. Yeah, so his legs aren't going to be actually what we could do. Since he's not rounded on the back, yeah, we could just do this. We'll make his legs a little wider this way and move all of these pieces forward. There we go. Alright, so now to duplicate this a bunch of times and make the backs of his legs. Alright, so there is one leg. Does that look about right? I think his legs are a little short in comparison to his torso. So we can't really make the torso shorter because of the size of the pieces. But we could potentially just make him slightly taller. Or I could just not worry about it and stop being a perfectionist, you know? Those are all possibilities. But let's just duplicate this leg and see what... Oh no. Why is my manipulator so weird like that? Boo. Okay. We'll try selecting it piece by piece because we don't want to duplicate the circles, and that might have been what was throwing off the orientation of that. That's better, yeah. Okay. The unfortunate part about building things with these Art Deco pieces is you can see all the crazy Z fighting that's going on the surface, but there's nothing we can do about that, and you won't notice it so much from a distance. At least that's my hope anyway. Actually, I'm going to line it up here first, and then we'll move it to the proper location. Alright. There we have our legs. Yeah, you know what? That's okay. I think I might leave those like that. Although, let's back them up a little bit so that they're centered. I guess not that it matters, because we're going to make a blueprint out of them anyway. But, yeah, I think that's good. Unfortunately, if you want to rotate the legs, that's going to be a little bit more tricky. But maybe when you place the blueprint, it'll be a little easier. Let's find out, shall we? So we'll grab these guys and do our usual split from building. Make sure we have all the pieces selected. Nope, we don't. We'll do it this way. Oh, except now we got a rock selected in the background. Okay. Looks like we got all that we want there. Make blueprints. Save out as Lego legs. Lego my legs. Okay. Well, there we have it, guys. The beginnings of our Lego man. I think that's coming along nicely. But I do believe that is going to be it for this episode. I wanted to do this series where I'm just building stuff at live speeds and then, you know, editing out moments where I'm really fiddling around a lot. But I wanted to build it live so that you guys could see exactly how everything's working. So please let me know if you prefer it that way, building live and having lots of cuts, or if you'd rather just see a time lapse of me doing it where I am then doing post commentary and talking as I'm watching the time lapse and then explaining to you guys what it is. I find it more fun this way because I'm sort of talking as I'm going and it matches better. But yeah, let me know. If you guys prefer time lapse, that is perfectly fine. I will do that. Otherwise, I will keep doing it this way. So for now, that will be it, and thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'm pretty excited about making this Lego world. Alright, until next time, stay foxy, everyone.